For me, when I think about a philosophical argument, at least when I try to talk with an atheist or a skeptic about some kind of like philosophical argument, I get one of the objections that I hear is that we don't really, or we shouldn't like care about philosophical arguments. These don't really actually prove anything. What we really want is empirical evidence. And so, what's your sort of basic take on that? Like, what's your response to that?
Yeah, well, I disagree with that whole idea and that whole approach to thinking about arguments. I tend to view most academic disciplines as all of them, in some sense, being under philosophy as sort of the queen of the disciplines. And the medievals would have thought that theology, in particular, was the queen of the disciplines, even over philosophy. I'm sympathetic to that idea, but there are all kinds of sub-disciplines of philosophy that most people don't reflect on and see them as a philosophical discipline, like mathematics. So if I ask you for a proof that 2 plus 2 equals 4, and you bring out 2 apples and then 2 more apples and say, see, there are 4 apples, a lot of people would say, look, that's empirical proof of this. And I'm going to say it's not, because the idea of what numbers are stands behind whatever objects you're bringing out to count with. And whatever the nature...
What do you mean stands behind?
I mean that we have numbers and we use them, and I mean there's a debate amongst philosophers about whether numbers are real or whether they're abstract objects, or whether nominalism is true and these are just social constructions that we have. But notice that even talking about that is itself not an empirical discussion, but it is a philosophical discussion. So when people just say, look, I can prove to you that 2 plus 2 equals 4 using this empirical method of counting apples, they're presupposing a lot of philosophy that has already taken place in the background, that they're just either unaware of or they're not critically reflective of it. And I don't mean to say that in any negative way, that people who are doing this are ignorant or foolish. That's not my contention. Rather, I just want to point out that there are all kinds of things about life that we don't have the ability to get empirical evidence about those things. I don't think it means that we shouldn't really care about those things. The idea that we should only value things that we can get empirical evidence for is a philosophical claim. It's not something that can be defended empirically. So are you familiar with scientism?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think that there's something in the neighborhood of scientism that's at work here, that people think the only things that we should believe are things that can be scientifically proven. But the claim that you should only believe things which can be scientifically proven, that claim itself cannot be scientifically proven. So there's a kind of self-defeating attitude of a lot of this. So I just reject the idea that we have to have empirical evidence in order for anything to count as a good argument, whether an argument for the existence of God or an argument for the existence of something else.